Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new, thank you so much for being here. If you're coming back for the second or third time, again, thank you so much, because I wouldn't be able to do this without you. And what I want to talk about today is 3 simple steps that you can take in your life if you're struggling with addiction or struggling with alcoholism to get sober and to no longer have to sacrifice your well-being ever again. So the first step is you have to accept the fact that your life is unmanageable. Like, you do not have control over your life. I remember when I was out there drinking and using, nothing would stop me. It didn't matter what the consequence was. It didn't matter who I hurt. I stole from my dad. I stole from my mom. I stole from my grandparents. I stole from my friends. I didn't care. I stole from anybody and anything to get my drug, to satisfy the addiction. And so maybe this is you. Maybe you can't stop drinking. And think about it. Like, how many times have you drank and got super drunk and you're like, oh, I'm never going to do this again. And then the next day you wake up and you do it again anyways. I've said that so many times. And see, once you realize that you are beyond human aid, like, there's no human aid that can solve your addiction, can solve your alcoholism. And so the first step is you have to accept that as your reality. As soon as you accept that as your reality, something changes, something shifts inside of you. This is called the surrender process. So surrendering to the fact that you may be addicted to drugs and alcohol and that you don't have the power to stop, that is the first step. That is the absolute first step. So once you get there, then you can move on to step 2, which the second step is that you are making a decision to bring in a higher power. You're making the decision to say, hey, I can't do this alone. There's a power greater than me that has the power to do so. That is the second step. That is what I believe is the pinnacle of your future sobriety, right? Because you're beyond human aid. You've attempted to stop so many times. And so you got to get to a place where you're like willing to receive, like the willingness. You just have to be willing. Like, hey, I can't do this alone. Something greater than me, God, can solve my problem. Once you get there, all of a sudden the magic starts to happen. All of a sudden God starts to enter into your life. The Spirit literally comes inside of you. That's been my experience. And I literally remember sitting in juvie looking at 25 to Life, and I was like, man, I'm never going to get out of here. And I remember the pastor came up to me on Sunday and she said, do you believe, young man? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, do you believe? And I was like, I mean, yeah, I believe, but what does that have to do with me getting out of here? And she's like, God makes miracles happen all the time. And I was like, yeah, but I mean, they told me, like, I'm done. Like, they said if I ever come back again, they're going to send me away, full ride. I had over 21 felonies at this point. I robbed a store with a handgun. They were like, if you ever come back to juvie again, we're going to adjudicate you as an adult. You're going to spend your time in prison with the adults. And I was like, so there's nothing I can do. And she said, believe that I believe, young man. She's like, I believe God has a plan for you. And I didn't know it at that time, but God was already working in my life. And that seed was planted. And that seed actually has sprouted and have grown to the human being that's sitting here today. But I didn't know it. And so if you're watching this, know that that seed that you're going to plant, that God is asking you to plant, will grow if you water it, if you give it nutrients, if you give it light, if you continue to feed it. That seed will grow, and that seed has grown into the man that's sitting here today. And I'm so grateful for that. So that's the second step. The third step is accepting God into your life, accepting that His way is the only way to sobriety. See, the first, you have to be willing. Second, which is the third step. First is surrender. Second is the willingness to bring God in. The third step is accepting God as your guidance, as your higher power. And you have to surrender to the fact that you are beyond human aid. Your will got you to where you're at. God's will get you out of there. And that's the power of the program. That's the power of the first 3 steps. And so maybe you feel like you're stuck. Maybe you don't know the way out. Well, if you want to message me, if you want to comment or DM me, I can support you. I can introduce you to a 12-step program. If you don't have the means for rehab, there's state facilities out there. Like, we will do our best to get you the support that you need. And you can get sober by just going to a 12-step program. And so, like, what is the difference between Ryan's will and God's will? That's something that I even today still battle. And for example, like doing this YouTube video, I believe this is what God would want me to do. I believe that God would want me to share this message of hope, to introduce people to Him so that they can start to establish a relationship with God. I believe that's God's will. My will would be maybe on some vacation somewhere, or maybe at the gym, or not doing this, right? Because I'm lazy. See, the human condition doesn't want me to do this. And so once you get into the serving mindset, once you get into doing for others as you would want them to do for you, that's God's will. And so hopefully this was helpful, guys. If somebody is struggling, if this resonates with you, send this video to them so they can watch it, so they can get some help. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, comment below. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.